For those who don't know me, my name is Michael Kears, a real estate investor, fund operator. Over the last several years, I've worked closely with self-directed IRA investors and custodians to help retirement capital get deployed into alternative assets, particularly real estate-backed lending, in ways that prioritize compliance, clarity, long-term outcomes. On Deploy, my goal is simple: to educate investors on how self-directed IRAs actually work, highlight best practices, bring visibility to custodians and professionals to make the ecosystem function. All right. Today, I am joined by Paul Herves. He's an account executive at Equity Trust Company, which is one of the custodians helping investors navigate self-directed IRAs from education and administration to ensuring transactions are handled properly. I'm excited about this conversation because investors hear the term self-directed IRAs a lot, but very few really understand what actually happens behind the scenes, right? So, Paul, thanks for joining me. How are you today?
Michael, thank you very much for the opportunity today. Really appreciate the chance to go ahead and join you today here on Deployed. I'm doing phenomenal. It's a great start to the day and very thankful to be here with you.
Perfect, perfect. So, Paul, can you give me an overview of your background and what led you into the self-directed IRA space?
Yeah, I would absolutely love to, Michael. So my background started from sports. So was a collegiate athlete, multi-sport athlete, and really enjoyed getting to compete. Right. So I think that's kind of a natural driver in myself is competition, wanting to get better, and it's bled over into my business life. After my undergraduate, after my graduate courses, going ahead, immersing myself in quite a few different fields. So I jumped straight into coaching after going ahead and having my experiences in my graduate and undergraduate courses, and from there have led teams in the construction industry, information technology industry, and now going to be in the custodial industry here with Equity Trust, which I'm very thankful for, helping people go ahead and really learn how to access tools that the wealthy have had since the 70s. I mean, this has been going on now for over 50 years, self-directing your retirement funds. So really going ahead, helping people grasp the concept and then learn how they can mitigate needlessly donating to the IRS and rather letting their earnings compound for them.
Wow, I love it. I love it. So, what surprised you the most once you entered?
Yeah, how much information there is and how much there is to learn, and how interconnected a lot of these different techniques and products really are. I think really took me by surprise. And even the word custodian, when I joined the industry, I thought the custodian was a groundskeeper, somebody who helped take care of a golf course and make sure the grass is clipped nice and everything's manicured and perfect. And that's not what there's also another type of custodian, which is a bank, and that's what we are. Is we're a bank on paper. But that was one of the biggest changes, Mike, is just that some of that verbiage and even the verbiage like self-directed. I think that's a misnomer too because it's one big marketing term.
Yeah,
So many different groups will use this word self-directed, and at times I think groups use it as a way to confuse people. There are many custodians out there who offer self-directed IRAs, but the self-direction is a direction between 20 different stocks that they have that are proprietary and not a true self-direction of being able to get into private lending in the real estate world and alternative assets as a whole. Rather, they're going to limit you to those self-direction options of their immediate choosing.
so that's how they get away with trying to say that they're self-directed when I think about it, that they're really not. Now, I love how you explain that. I never heard it that way. So, what role does your firm play in the self-directed IRA ecosystem?
Yeah, so we are going to be the facilitator, right? So we are going to be the ones who are actually going to provide the vehicle and hold custody on behalf of that IRA. So we are the legal entity that the IRS requires when it comes to retirement funds. There's no way around it. You need a third party custodian to ensure everything is kept above board. So when you're going ahead and choosing a custodian, really important to go ahead and look at their track record, right? What is their history? How many decades have they been in business? What is their group's assets under custody, right? What does their stewardship level look like? How much are they responsible for holding on behalf of those individuals? And also their different business lines, right? How vast is this organization and how many facets can they help serve me on my investing journey?
Got it. Got it. Got it. And from your perspective, what do most investors misunderstand about what custodians actually do?
That's a really, really good question. I think there is at times confusion in the industry with that role of a custodian. At times, a lot of investors um, think of custodians and private placement agents synonymously. They think that going ahead and going to the custodian, they'll have access to all of these private investments, opportunities, and the like, which isn't necessarily the case. Custodians aren't able to endorse investments. They're not able to go ahead and direct funds on behalf of the individual. Rather, it's that individual's true self-direction of them raising their hand saying, hey, I want to invest into this asset to go ahead and get them placed.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. I love that you mentioned it. I didn't realize that most people would think that you guys are like a private placement lender. That's an interesting perspective.
At times, there's certainly confusion where people will sometimes assume that there is that level of representation or a fiduciary role because what we're trying to do is we're trying to ensure that guardrails are in place. Right. That's really going to be a big part of the role of the custodian is ensuring that they can go ahead, drive down the road on their investment journey, and that they're not going to fall asleep at the wheel and detour off the road.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. So along those lines, at a high level, what types of assets can be held in a self-directed IRA?
So many different assets, Michael. I first kind of want to start on what can't be held in the IRA, right? I think that's actually an easier way to go sometimes. So, what cannot be held? Art and collectibles. I first want to start with that. If you can't put a value on it, if there's not a fair market value, the IRS cannot give a valid determination when it comes to distribution, taking those out of the account. Those are the first things you're going to want to avoid. So any collectibles, any art piece, any awesome hot rod, you're going to want to stay away from. Outside of that, as corporation, because of the tax status it already receives, anything currently federally prohibited, like marijuana. Now, if that were to change in the future, I'm sure those laws would too. But when it comes to common investment types I seek, real estate is going to be very hot, right? I mean, very popular with our account holders specifically. It's going to be a large asset class that will go ahead and help assist. And there's many different ways to get into real estate. Going ahead lending is a very common option for going ahead getting placed into a real estate asset, as is a private equity play, or investing through venture capital, futures, foreign exchange. So many unique strategies too that I've seen come across my desk as well. If capital can be raised for it, if it can be pushed into a private equity vehicle, there's a decent chance that it's being raised for somewhere.
Yeah, makes sense. All right. What is one of the most common mistakes you see investors use when they're self-directed alternative fund?
Yeah, the first one I want to call out by far is prohibited transactions. So the IRS comes right out and says, okay, here are the groups that you're not allowed to invest with when it comes to your retirement funds. The first one is going to be yourself. So I'm a prohibited party to myself. I'm not able to go ahead and purchase assets that I personally own. If I have a real estate portfolio, I can't shift it into the IRA, pay myself for it. The same is true of my spouse. Any of my direct ancestors, so my parents, my grandparents, further upon my lineage, and then descendants as well. So my kids, their marriages, my son and daughter-in-laws, and then any of those offspring, grandkids, great-grandkids, thereforth. When it comes to placing these dollars, I cannot transact with these individuals. It would be known as a prohibited transaction. I'd have a forced early distribution. All of a sudden, my IRA funds would become cash, and I'd have a huge tax penalty. So really important when we're going through this investment journey that we understand these are the parties I'm not going to go ahead and deploy the capital with, transact with, purchase from.
And how does that happen for if I use funds to purchase, let's say, a buy and hold, right? As long as the funds go back into the self-directed IRA, even though it's benefiting me, it's still not a prohibited transaction.
Yep. So if you're going ahead purchasing the real estate property, going ahead getting into the deal, right? No issues there because you're going ahead getting into a new asset that you haven't previously owned. It's a
Got it.
brand new investment, and that's how that's going to be determined. Is hey, this is a new asset. It's not tied to you personally at this point in time. By all means, you'd be able to go ahead and deploy on it.
Got it. Got it. Now, what if my wife wanted to use her 401k to do, let's say, a fix and flip that I'm actually owning? So I guess she can't use her 401k to lend the funds to me to purchase an asset. Is that correct?
Correct. Now, there would be like a very technical thing to do in a situation like that, which would be known as a solo 401k loan. If you qualify for a solo 401k, which means you need to be a solopreneur and you can't have any common law employees outside of a spouse. But what a person could do in that instance is go ahead, take a look at a solo 401k loan, actually leverage the retirement funds they have in there, take personal cash out, and now you have personal cash, Michael. You have just washed those retirement funds because that is actually a loan that you are now obligated to pay back to your solo 401k. It's going to be the prime interest rate plus 1%, so it's going to be a little steep, but you're paying yourself back, right? I mean, I'd rather pay myself back at a higher interest rate than any other person, that's for sure. But it allows you to rinse your money, right? It allows you to turn it from those retirement funds into cash, where you could, in essence, then use said cash to make the investment. But of course, you would have to pay back the loan. But that would be a IRA 301 to go ahead and creatively structure that.
So just so I'm clear, if a person has, let's say, $100,000 in a self-directed IRA, they could get a solo 401k loan against that $100,000 in the self-directed IRA.
The tricky part is they got to qualify for the solo 401k. And that means they need to be a solopreneur.
Got
Their
it.
only employee on payroll could only be a spouse, and they have to have an income. So it is the the portion there is making sure we qualify for it on the front end.
Got it. Got it. That's interesting. Okay.
But
Um,
you're right. You're able to access that loan. You can take up to 50% of what's in your solo 401k, up to 50 grand. So if
okay.
you throw 100 grand to that solo 401k, you could pull out that 50k cash with the loan.
Got it. Got it. Interesting. Going back along the lines of custodians, and you talked about earlier, different custodians offer different benefits. What are some things investors should think about when choosing a custodian? What actually matters beyond like fees?
Yeah, I would say length in industry, right? Like when I look at banking partners, I want somebody who's going to be there tomorrow, right? Like even if you look like within the past decade, like we've had a few different. Now they're very small banks, right? They are small institutions relatively in the size of things, but you want a partner who knows what they're doing, right? And who has been in this industry for quite some time and who has experience and whose employees know what they're doing and who can go ahead and help assist you in getting placed. Now, another Another thing that an investor will want is somebody who's timely and responsive, right? A team who actually is going to pick up the phone, help assist them when they have a question, when they need to get placed, right? So I would say that's another distinction too, is ensure you're working with a group that can communicate effectively.
Mhm. I love it. I love it. So, what are some early signs or early warning signs you guys may see if something isn't like structured properly?
It's a great question. So when we intake things, we'll have investment sponsors fill out their investment onboarding forms. So we'll ask for an EIN, their subscription documents, all those investment packet, and then their wire information as well. So what we'll do is we'll ensure it's administratively feasible to invest in it with retirement funds.
Okay.
So we'll go ahead, help ensure that you can get placed into the offering and that we can get it custodied on our platform.
Got it. Got it. Is that a standard that every custodian does, or is that a value proposition for you all?
Yep, that'll be something that every custodian will do. Now, some custodians do it differently. Sometimes it looks different. Some custodians require limited partners to serve it up to them on a silver platter and have everything endorsed correctly. And hey, this needs to be in the account of the IRA. It needs to be listed as equity trust company as custodian for benefit of Paul Herbis, account number 12345. And we are different there, right? We will work with a sponsor to get that information, and then we'll work to pre-fill it with our client service department for the limited partner. So we do serve things up and try to make it as easy as possible, because at the end of the day, this is a new concept for most, and we want to make sure that we're doing what we can to help simplify things.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, being in my a real estate investor, I've become more familiar with the self-directed IRA, but it still surprises me that I don't want to say taboo, but it's a subject not many people really are aware of.
Yeah.
Because everyone really pushes the standard retirement accounts with your employee or employer.
And there's a and also there's another reason too, Michael, and that's for those financial advisors over at those large custodians. I mean, they're making monetary fees. They're making a 2% management fee of anything that sits in that account, and then a 20% performance fee on the gains they're able to go ahead and get. So a, a lot of financial advisors at these traditional institutions will not educate their clients on this,
Right.
because there's a direct fiduciary fiduciary, yeah, there's a direct financial incentive. I had a Freudian slip there. Um,
All right.
there's a direct financial incentive for them to keep those assets under management.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Makes total sense. Um, so in your opinion, why does self-directed IRAs tend to align so well with like passive investments like private lending?
The time horizons typically line up very, very well. So a lot of private equity opportunities, they typically have longer hold times. So it's going to be more of an illiquid asset, but the benefit in that is, one, you're not going to panic sell.
Yeah, yeah,
So when the market tanks, when with everything that's going on in this world right now, the crazy world we live in with all the geopolitical events and information trying to attack me every given hour with some event or world history, something to that effect, right? I'm not going to be able to fear sell. Like, that's the first hedge protection, right? Is, hey, I'm in a hard asset. I'm not going to emotionally react to it. And the returns typically tend to be better, right? It's a longer hold. And the thought process here is that I'm going to be getting a better return than I would in the market, and it's going to be something that is invested into a hard asset where there's going to be security tied to it as well. So those time horizons tend to match very, very well with retirement funds, and the fact that these are tax advantage dollars that are being invested where those investors are seeking a higher return.
yeah, absolutely. From a consumer's perspective, what characteristics make a lending deal easier to administer?
That's a really good question. I think at the end of the day, it's going to be a partner who can communicate. I really think that helps solve a lot of issues
Yeah,
in the custodial world, is people who can help pick up the phone and
and all
and
young people. Yeah,
get back to people. I think that solves most of the issues right there. Um, but I would say in terms of going ahead structuring, a lot of groups do it differently, and we're happy to go ahead and support those investment sponsors for sure.
yeah, yeah. How do long-term, like income deferred, maturity-based investments, like you talked about earlier, often fit retirement capital better than like active products?
Yeah, so in terms of those passive investments, right? Somebody looking to invest into real estate rather than the stock market, yeah, they typically will tend to outperform the market, even if you look here in like the past decade, right?
Yeah,
Um, there there's been some awesome opportunities in the real estate community, and I'll speak anecdotally here. Even in our backyard in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, I mean, I've witnessed it firsthand. We last year we led the nation in the lowest unemployment rate, and it directly affected our real estate community
yeah,
and the prices in my backyard. So I mean, I've seen what it could do on a personal level, and yeah, once when you pair it with in a tax advantage ecosystem, and even taking it a step further, if we're talking about a Roth account, now we're in a tax-free ecosystem. You're really able to start compounding and forcing appreciation through that IRA.
yeah. Can you talk about the differences? There's a Roth directed IRA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Can you explain it?
yeah, so the traditional IRA and Roth IRA are going to differ in that the traditional IRA is going to be pre-tax in nature. The Roth IRA is going to be post-tax in nature. And what I mean by that, when you're going ahead initially making that investment into the IRA, when you're contributing, when you're placing those funds from your checking, personal account, savings account into the IRA account, You're doing so with pre-tax funds. You haven't paid taxes yet on those funds hitting that account. You're able to go ahead and invest those. Now, the biggest benefit, and this is with both traditional and Roth, all IRAs, all retirement funds, solo 401k as well, is you're not paying capital gains taxes on your return when it's sitting inside the IRA, which is powerful. It's very, very tax advantaged. Now, once when you start pulling those funds out later in life, so once when you turn 59 and a half, that's the special age where the IRS allows you to start pulling funds out of this account without an additional penalty. So once when you turn 59 and a half, you can now elect to take distributions. Say you want to take the kids to Disneyland, take the grandkids, spoil them, what have you, right? We don't want to use this as an investment. We're going to use this to spend, to put into the economy. I'll take a distribution. I'll request from Equity Trust that distribution. I'll get a check. It'll go right to my personal account. When I go to file on the following tax year on April 15th, the IRS will treat that check that I received as a bonus, right? So it'll get tacked on to the ordinary income I already earned that year, and it'll get tacked right on the top. So let's say I earned 100,000 this year. I took a 20,000 distribution. No, I got $120,000. I'm getting taxed on of ordinary income, and it's important to understand that because if you're taking these distributions, you want to make sure you're not bumping yourself up into a higher tax bracket when you're pulling funds out. You want to make sure that you're getting with a CPA to time this to make sure that we're not actually paying more percentage points, not just on the distribution, but on everything I've earned this year. So really, really taking time once when you hit age 59 and a half to get with the CPA and map out that distribution schedule and what it's going to look like for you with your earned income and with your currently at life. Now, the Roth IRA, you pay the taxes on that initial money going to the vehicle. You pay the taxes on the seed. And how the government rewards you is that those earnings are going to be tax-free. So you're not paying capital gains taxes on the returns. But now when you pull those out at 59 and a half, I don't need to give my CPA a call if I'm doing it with a Roth IRA because it's going ahead and it's not getting taxed at the ordinary income level. I've already paid the taxes on the seed when I pushed it in.
Got it. No, that makes sense. Okay. And what documentation or structure do you typically like to see with self-directed IRA investors?
Good question.
Lending on real estate.
Lending on real estate directly through the IRA. It can be made directly through the self-directed IRA. You would not need to go ahead through the effort of creating any other entity or attachment to it. It would just be an additional cost at that point. Now, if you were specifically looking to get into real estate property, you might consider what's known as a checkbook IRA. But for lending, a self-directed IRA is going to be the best vehicle to go ahead and accomplish it.
Okay. And any that you like to see around here?
Yeah, so just what we'll need on our end would be that IRA application. So I'd be able to go ahead, help assist them with that application, with the transfer form to receive funds from their current custodian. And then we'd send a DocuSign of the investment documents to the investor and then countersigned as the custodian. So outside of those documents, we'd be all set.
Okay. And then how do you work with sponsors? Is there anything that you guys do specifically on your end?
Yeah, so making sure they're equipped with marketing material and making sure they have a dedicated point of contact and a team that can help support them. So that when it is time, when those interested investors do want to learn more, when they do have questions, when they want to meet on a Teams meeting, have a call, put a meeting on the calendar, that they have somebody that can help have that conversation, help solve their questions, help give them their options, and speak to the different ways that they can help grow their wealth through those tax advantages. So going ahead, being somebody that general partner or investor relations can count on to help assist their clients in business line.
I think this next question is and what some of the operators who are easy to work with from those who aren't.
Yeah. So going ahead and communicating is really what it's going to tie back to.
Yeah.
So being able to pick up the phone, send that email, it's going to go a long way, right? Keeping us in the loop, it always helps. And it makes things easier for the limited partner. And And we take on that same approach, right, of proactive communication, helping ensure that the sponsor is in the loop. And we also have tools to go ahead and help achieve that as well, such as a pro portal where we can get those sponsors direct overview, so that they can see in a seamless fashion where their investors are, so that they can best steer that ship.
Okay. And what does a long-term relationship between a custodian and the operator usually look like?
In terms of that relationship, really looks what it looks like is collaboration. So typically we'll go ahead, help provide the education, speak to the tax advantages, the liquidity, how they could go ahead, fund the account, what the process looks like, timelines, and the like. And in terms of that symbiotic relationship, the sponsor could go ahead and truly expect a way to go ahead and raise funds that's not ad hoc, right? Going ahead, creating this as a mainstay of the raise, as a way to go ahead and help their investors create that generational wealth in that tax advantage position to where they could go ahead, use it to support their families and create their own legacies.
I love it. I love it. For someone on retirement cap who wants more control but wants to stay compliant, what advice would you give?
I tell them to give me a call and let's have a goals based conversation. That would be my advice is let's get on the calendar, because that's really what it is. Is a lot of people they don't they because this is such a new concept, because this isn't taught in the school systems. A lot of colleges don't even teach this course curriculum because it is so, for lack of a better term, gate capped, right? People don't know the questions to ask. So I think going ahead and getting on an initial phone call, having that 15, 30 minutes to go ahead, understand what they're trying to accomplish, what their end goal looks like, I think can best be able to help me assist them.
Yeah, yeah. Where can you learn more about Equity Trust or educational resources that you guys have?
Yeah, so that they could totally reach out to me. They could give me a call via text. I'm at 605-799-8620, or they could go ahead, take a look at one of our websites as well. Or they could reach me via calendar link or email as well.
Awesome, awesome. Well, Paul, I'll make sure to share your information below this so that they can reach out to you. For those who are watching live or for those who are watching the replay, for all the time that we have today, if this episode was helpful, share it with someone who has retirement capital and wants to understand their options beyond the stock market. We would really love that. And if you want to learn more about the self-directed IRAs and how it can be used for passive real estate backed lending, check the resources in the description. Again, I'm Michael Kieris. Paul Herbst. Thanks again for joining. Talk soon.